Hello everyone, welcome back to Mishnah with Jacob. Today is 5/12/26. We are learning masechet keilim, parak 5, 3 through 4, and parak 5 again, 5 through 6. Now yet again, just a fresh reminder that keilim is talking about different types of utensils and vessels and laws of impurity and purity with those different vessels. So we go back again to talking about a kira, which is like a type of oven. So Mishnah 3 starts, handles are not, and it starts and it says that handles are not the only attachments to an oven or kira that are considered part of it. The Mishnah discusses other things associated with an oven and kira that teaches which are considered part of them and become tummy along with them, and which are not considered part of them. A teres kira, the rim attached to the roof of a kira. Like a kira is more of like a circular oven. So on the top of it, there's like a rim in a way. So we're wondering, does that become impure, pure? Tahor. It is considered tahor. And this is because most people do not attach rims to their kiras. Therefore, even if someone did attach a rim, it is not considered a part of a kira. Tira, satan, or the law for the courtyard of an oven, a small enclosure next to the oven in which hot bread is placed. When it is first removed from the oven, it is as follows: Bisman she gavoha bam tvachim, when it is 4 tvachim high. Mitame b'maga be'avir, it becomes tame through direct contact with a source of tuma, such as like a sheretz, which is like a dead mouse or like dead, like creeping, crawling creature that touches the inside of it, and through a source of tuma entering its airspace, even without touching it. Since this enclosure is next to an oven and used together with it, it too is treated with the law of an oven. Therefore, it is used. If it is 4 tvachim high, the minimum size for an oven, it becomes tamei according to the rules of earthenware ovens. Bechusa mekan, but if the enclosure is less than 4 tvachim high, tahora, it is tahor, because it does not have the minimum size needed for an oven. In the previous case, the enclosure was not actually attached to the oven. The Mishnah discussed and the Mishnah teaches the rule. The rule is different in a case where it is attached to it. Afilu al shalosh avanim, even if it is sitting on 3 stones rather than on the ground, making for a weak connection. Tameh. It is tameh. So essentially, if you have like an oven and then some kind of like courtyard kind of next to it, like a 3-walled shape, kind of like a sukkah without one wall and a roof. And if it's like next to it, even if it's like slightly close to it, or like sitting, making like a weak connection, it is considered tameh because it's considered connected to it. But if it is less than it is tameh even if it is less 4 tvachim high, which we discussed earlier, is the halakhic requirement for it to be considered an oven that can become tameh. Since it is attached to the oven, is considered part of the oven, it does not have to be the size of an oven on its own. Mishnah is because of the law of various containers that were often attached to the outside of a kira. Beis hapach, an oil flask holder, i.e. a holder in which a jar of oil could be placed to be warmed by the heat of the kira. Uveis hatvalin, uveis haner, a spice holder and a lamp holder, shabakira, that are attached to the side of a kira. Mitam and bemaga become tame through contact when a source of tuma touches the kira to which they are attached. But they do not become tame through tuma that enters the airspace of the kira. That is, if a source of tuma touches the inside of the kira, makes it tame, these holders become tame as well. But if a source of tuma merely enters the airspace of a kira without touching it, only the kira becomes tame, but not the holders. The reason this distinction is that these holders are not really considered part of the kira, and they really should not become tame with it at all. The rabbis, however, decreed that they should be treated like part of the kira, but they made this decree only in cases when the tuma actually touches the inside of the kira, but not when it merely enters its airspace. Divrei Rabbi Meir, but these are the words of Rabbi Meir, and the next Tana disagrees, mitaher. Rabbi Shimon rules that the holders are tahor, even if the kira becomes tameh by being touched on the inside by a source of tama. According to Rav Shimon, the rabbis never made a decree to make the holders tameh without the tuma of the kira. Now Mishnah 4, the second Mishnah, begins that in Mishnah 1 we learned that a new oven becomes tameh only after it has been heated to a certain temperature. The Mishnah deals with cases where this heating happened in an unusual fashion. Taner shehusak me'achrarav, if an oven was heated from its outside, that is, the fire was placed next to the outside of an oven, and this heated to the required temperature, which is discussed earlier. O shehusak shelod lodato, or it was heated on the inside without the owner's knowledge. O shehusak bebeis ha'uman, or is heated in the craftsman's house before he finished making it, tameh, it is fit to become tameh. Once it has been heated to the necessary temperature, it is considered a finished oven regardless of the circumstances. The Mishnah brings a proof to this law. Miase shenafla deleka metanor kafar signa. An incident occurred which a fire broke out between the ovens of kfar signa while they were still in the craftsman's workshop. The fire heated these ovens to the required temperature needed for toma. Uba masa liyavne, and the case was brought to the sages of Yavne. V'timon Rabbi Gamliel, and Rabbi Gamliel ruled that they were subject to become tameh. This case involves all three situations discussed in Mishnah. The fire burned outside the ovens. It happened without the owner's knowledge or agreement, and the ovens were unfinished and still in the workshop. Nevertheless, they are considered fit to become tameh. We see this from that earthenware ovens become fit for tameh by being heated to the necessary temperature, regardless of how this came about. So even if the owner did not know or did not want it to happen, or the craftsman did not know or did not want it to happen, it doesn't matter. If an oven gets heated to the required temperature for it to be considered an oven that can become tameh, it doesn't matter how it came to be, but rather that because it was heated, it can now become tameh. Now, the third Mishnah, Mishnah 5, begins. We learn in Mishnah 3 that the rim on top of a kira is not considered part of the kira. The Mishnah discusses a different type of rim that was placed on top of an oven. Musaf hatonor. The law for the addition to the top of an oven, a thick rim of clay attached to the top of an oven around its opening is as follows. Shel balai baitim. If it was like an oven of householders, like a regular home oven, like just a regular person's oven, tahor is considered tahor because the rim is not considered part of the oven. V'shel nachtumin tameh, but the rim of a baker's oven is tameh. Mivnei shu somech halav etashvod, because the baker rests the spit he uses to roast meat on the rim. Therefore, the rim is considered part of the oven. It becomes tameh along with it because he's using it in this fashion. The next Tana agrees that the rim of a baker's oven is tameh, but for a different reason. Rabbi Yochanan Hasan Lar Omer. Rabbi Yochanan Hasan Lar says, the rim of a baker's oven is tameh because he bakes with it when he is under pressure to bake a lot of bread. For example, when he has many customers who need bread at the same time, since the rim is sometimes used for baking, it's considered part of the oven and is considered because he bakes with it. Since the rim is sometimes used for baking, is considered part of the oven and can become tameh. In the previous ruling, we saw that there's a difference between the rim of a home oven and the rim of a baker's oven. The Mishnah now teaches about a difference between the rims of the different types of pots. Kiyotze bo musaf hayora shel shoke zaitim. Similar addition to the top of the pot used by those who boil olives, tameh becomes tameh along with the pot because this rim allows for more olives to be cooked in the pot. Therefore, the rim is considered part of the pot. V'shel tzebaim tahor. But the rim added to the top of the pot used by dyers is tahor, because this rim does not allow for more clothes to be dyed. Rather, its purpose is to prevent the dye from overflowing in case the pot boils over. Therefore, it is not considered part of the pot. Now we're on Mishnah 6. This is the last Mishnah. And Mishnah 6 says that it's going to discuss the laws of an oven that was partially filled with dirt. Tanor Shenatan bo afar ad chatzioy. If someone filled an earthenware oven with dirt up to its midpoint, meaning that like an oven kind of has like a little bit of a pit for either like fire or what it's cooking, and if someone fills that halfway with halfway with dirt, what are like the laws regarding this? The laws as follows. Miafar lamatan metame b'maga. The part of the oven from where the dirt begins down to the bottom of the oven, the dirt half of the oven becomes tameh only through a source of tameh that touches the inside of the top of the oven. I.e., the empty half of the oven, if a source of tameh touches the inside of the top half of the oven, meaning the half of the oven that's not filled with dirt, the entire oven, even including the dirt-filled part, becomes tameh. But if the source of tameh merely enters the airspace of the top half of the oven without touching it, the bottom half, the dirt-filled part, remains tahor. This is a rabbinic law, mi'afar lamalan mitame be'avir. But the part of the oven from the dirt up becomes tameh, even though through tumah entering its airspace without touching it, thus if tumah enters the top half of the oven without touching it, the top half is tameh, while the bottom half is tahor. We've learned several times in this chapter, Mishnahs 1 and 4, that a new oven must be heated to a certain temperature before it is fit to become tameh. An oven is normally heated while it is attached to the ground, The Mishnah discusses whether heating it is effective in a case where it is not attached to the ground but is placed over a pit in the ground. Not nisanu al pi habur u al pi ados. So someone placed a new oven over the opening of a pit or cistern, but not on sham aven, and he placed a stone there between the oven and the side of the pit or cistern, to hold the oven in place. The law is as follows. Rabbi Yehuda says, Im masik milamatan v'hu nisok milamalan. If someone lights a fire below at the bottom of the pit or cistern and the oven above, it is hereby heated to the required temperature. Tamet, the oven is fit to become tameh. Since the fire at the bottom of the pit can heat the oven, we consider the oven to be attached to the pit and thus attached to the ground. The oven therefore becomes fit to become tameh through this heating. However, if the fire at the bottom of the pit cannot heat the oven to the required temperature, the only way to use the oven is to place the fire on a platform of some kind under the bottom of the oven, that the oven is not considered attached to the pit or ground. Heating an oven that is not attached to the ground does not make it fit to become tameh. The sages disagree. And the sages say, Hoyel v'husak mikol makom tameh. Since the oven was heated in any event, it is fit to become tameh. Didn't we just say this before? Even though it was not connected to the ground while it was heated. Thank you everyone for listening. This is today's 4 Mishnayot, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and Parak 5.